The restaurant's private dining room buzzed with congratulations and polite laughter as family members gathered around the long table. My daughter Maya sat at the head of the table, her valedictorian sash draped perfectly over her navy dress, the gold lettering catching the light each time she moved. Extended family filled the space, phones raised, eager to capture what should have been a joyful celebration of her academic achievements and years of hard work. I watched from my seat near the middle of the table as relatives praised Maya's accomplishments with admiration and pride. They talked about her 4 years of maintaining a perfect grade point average while working part-time at the campus library. They mentioned her full scholarship to medical school starting in the fall, along with the recognition she received from the university president during the graduation ceremony earlier that afternoon. Aunt Linda raised her wine glass and smiled warmly, saying Maya was such a smart girl and that I must be incredibly proud. I smiled and nodded, though pride did not even begin to cover what I felt as I remembered watching Maya accept her diploma on stage. She had worked harder than anyone I knew, balancing intense coursework with long shifts at work, never once complaining about exhaustion or pressure. My mother sat at the opposite end of the table with her posture rigid and her expression tight. She had barely spoken to Maya during the ceremony and offered only a brief nod when we arrived at the restaurant. My father sat beside her, checking his phone intermittently, clearly disengaged from the celebration. When the waiter brought out the main courses, conversation shifted toward Maya's plans for medical school. Family members asked about her intended specialty and the highly competitive program she had been accepted into. Uncle James asked detailed questions about her research project, showing genuine interest in her work on cardiac regeneration. Suddenly, my mother announced that Maya got her intelligence from their side of the family. The table went quiet. Then she added that intelligence does not pay bills. I felt the shift in atmosphere immediately. Maya's smile stayed in place, but her hand tightened slightly around her fork. Aunt Linda responded carefully, noting that medical school is expensive. Maya calmly reminded everyone that she had a full scholarship covering tuition, books, and even a living stipend. My mother waved her hand dismissively and said she was not talking about Maya's expenses. She said she was talking about freeloaders who think education entitles them to live rent-free, and she looked directly at me. My father shifted uncomfortably. Uncle James suddenly became very interested in his salmon. The cousins exchanged uneasy glances, unsure whether to intervene or remain silent. I quietly reminded my mother that this was Maya's celebration dinner. She continued anyway, saying that it was the perfect time to discuss adult responsibilities. She reminded me that I was 42 years old, had a college degree, and still lived in their house while contributing nothing. The waiter approached with a wine bottle, sensed the tension, and retreated without a word. I said evenly that I contributed to the household. Maya met my eyes across the table, and I gave her a small shake of my head, silently telling her this was not her fight. My mother dismissed my statement, saying that grocery shopping occasionally did not count as real contribution. She said she and my father had discussed it and had been more than generous, allowing me to live rent-free while raising Maya. She continued by saying Maya was graduating and would be moving into medical school housing, so there was no reason for me to continue taking advantage of their generosity. Aunt Linda gently suggested that the conversation should happen privately. My mother questioned why, stating that everyone was family and deserved to understand the situation. She declared that there would be no more free living and that starting tomorrow I would either pay market rent or find somewhere else to live. Uncle James asked what market rent was in their neighborhood. My father answered quietly that it was $2,800 a month. He looked uncomfortable but did not contradict my mother. I took a slow sip of water as Maya sat frozen, her valedictorian sash now feeling painfully out of place against the tension filling the room. Aunt Linda commented that it seemed reasonable, clearly trying to diffuse the situation rather than agree. My mother said they had carried the financial burden long enough and criticized me for never owning property or building equity. The cousins stared down at their plates. Uncle James ordered more wine. My father added that I had plenty of time to get established and that Maya's success proved they provided a good home, but now it was time for me to stand on my own feet. I carefully set down my glass and reached for the leather portfolio beside my chair. I had originally planned to give it to Maya later, containing documents about the trust fund her grandmother left for her education, but it also held other important papers. I agreed that this was the perfect time to discuss property and financial responsibilities. My mother looked surprised by my calm agreement. I opened the portfolio and explained that if we were discussing rent and ownership, everyone should understand the complete financial situation. My mother asked what I was talking about. I referenced the four-bedroom colonial at 847 Maple Street and asked if they really wanted to charge me rent in a house they believed they owned. My father insisted they had owned it for 30 years. I slid a document across the table. Uncle James examined it and slowly realized it was a property deed dated 15 years earlier. My mother grabbed it, her face draining of color as she read. I explained that 15 years ago, when they were facing foreclosure, they came to me for help. I had just received an inheritance of $240,000 from Grandma Patricia. My father said they paid me back. I corrected him, stating they paid $70,000 over 3 years before stopping. When they could not continue, we agreed to a different arrangement. The deed was transferred to me, and they lived there rent-free while I covered the mortgage, taxes, and insurance. I showed bank statements, tax records, and insurance documents proving I had paid everything for 15 years. Aunt Linda leaned in, stunned. I explained the total investment exceeded $430,000. My mother accused me of hiding it. I reminded her she asked me not to tell anyone. Uncle James confirmed the legality. I presented the final document from my attorney, a formal eviction notice giving them 30 days to vacate. The room erupted. My mother accused me of revenge. I calmly explained it was about 15 years of disrespect. Maya spoke up, reminding everyone how my mother told people I lived rent-free. Uncle James supported me, stating 15 years of free housing was more than fair. Maya squeezed my hand and asked if we could go home. We left as arguments continued behind us. In the parking lot, Maya hugged me tightly, finally understanding the truth. At home, I reflected on the house I had maintained for years. Later, I showed Maya the trust fund her grandmother left her, $50,000 grown carefully over time. That night, as my parents rang the doorbell instead of using their key, I knew something fundamental had changed. I opened the door ready to face whatever came next, confident that I had done nothing wrong. I had been patient. I had been supportive. But respect has limits, especially when disrespected on your child's proudest day.